recorded.
And we are back here once again with another episode of the MSK show. And this is going to be episode 66. And in this episode of the MSK show, I am going to be having a conversation with content creator Benjamin the Dream Wizard. This is going to be his first appearance on the show. So as you guys know, every once in a while, I'll just like go and ask if people want to come on the shows for either one-on-ones or potentially be on the panel shows. And Benjamin said, hey, I want to come on. And I was like, well, all right, sounds good. Let's just set it up. And that's how we ended up here. And he also has cats that run around and get on his desk.
All over the place. They're going to come and try and knock over the stack of books too. And they lay on the keyboard and try and delete my episodes when I'm recording.
Good luck. Good Lord. Like, do you buy stuff for them and then they don't even want the stuff you bought for them? They'll just go and lay on the floor. He's
eating all my hair ties. He loves it. And then he chases them all over the floor.
Yeah, he's got a lot of pussy around there. Oh my
God.
Pussy
magnet. Absolutely. The cat distribution system is working overtime to distribute to me specifically. My wife is always bringing a new rescue home. We can't help ourselves.
So since this is your first time on the show, let's start here. So just in case you come on for a second and third appearance later on down the road, this will have already gotten out of the way. How was your life growing up?
It was pretty good. I think I had a pretty good life, good parents, that did their best, good people. And, I never really enjoyed school until I got to college. Then it was a little more like serious. It seemed like more of a social club when I was young. And then it was more academic and actually getting into stuff. So, I got a college degree in, a Bachelor of Sciences in Psychology. Spent 20 years in inpatient mental health. So like the worst of the worst crisis, hospitalization type of stuff, getting people with
like psych ward, stuff like that.
Psych ward. Absolutely. Yeah.
I had someone that I knew that did that. So she had stories that she told us where we couldn't even stomach getting through of them. We had we had a few, and you probably had these too, where guys will put their dicks and stuff. He had a guy who apparently put his dick in a hose.
Oh, don't do that.
We're like, no more story. I think we can get the visualization of it.
Yeah.
Imagine
all kinds of things that have to be removed rectally. Yeah, that's the thing. That's more on the ER side, but we're dealing with, when I was in there, it's people in the worst of the worst deep crisis of schizophrenia, highly suicidal, depressed folks, bipolar, manic, out of control, all that kind of thing, and here he is with the hair tie.
There's another cat.
Yep, this one's Bubba. Is our latest rescue. Oh, he got me. Hold on. You go get it. We're gonna play. This is the first cat I've ever had that plays fetch. He will bring it back to me, and so I can throw it again. He's a crazy person.
So, how many cats do you have?
I've got 3 of them out here, and we got a couple more in the house. We had an unexpected COVID litter back during the great pandemic in the bad times. We couldn't get the vet had shut down elective surgeries, and I'm like, spaying and neutering is elective, and they're like, well, it's not an emergency. I'm like, yeah, but we don't want to have like 1 million cats, so we had a small litter of like 5 or 6 of them. They're all in the house, and we're trying to give away cats. If you want one, let me know.
You know what's crazy? It's a superstition that black cats are bad luck. I've had a black cat before. They were honestly the best cats I ever had. The other ones that were different colors were always the obnoxious ones. I feel like black cats are usually the more calm ones. I don't know. Something about that texture of fur just does it for them. Well, maybe not that one. That one's just a dog.
He is a piece of work. Like I said, I don't think I've ever had a cat that actually literally plays fetch. He will bring it back to me. He's a charming little lovable asshole. He's kind of like me. I'm the nicest guy, but I can be a bit of a.
Has your family always just had like dogs and cats when you were growing up?
Yeah, a few here and there. And we never really got into being the unofficial rescue shelter of the neighborhood, like on purpose. Like I have a mission. It just happened. They show up in our backyard. I'm like, oh, it's a cute cat. Oh, it's friendly. Well, I guess we'll feed it. Oh, look, it stayed for 10 years. Yeah.
Good Lord. You became basically the crazy cat lady.
And of course the wizard has to surround himself with familiars. So That's how it goes.
I think he trying to sit on top. He's gonna try and sit on top of those books.
He might try and knock him over too. That's just, I mean, he's out of control. You just got to let him be.
That's what happens when you have black kids. They're just out of control, man. It's crazy.
There you go. Come here. Come here. Come here. Go. There we go. Jesus. So okay, where were we for the life?
You were in the medical field, you said.
Yeah, and then so it does include involuntary confinement. So and someone's got to do it when someone's out of control, and you want someone who's kind and knowledgeable and interested in helping people get better to be on the inside. And that's I think of myself that way. But at a certain point, you burn out, and I got tired of being a mental health prison guard, basically. People running away when they were out of their
What was
mind.
the final straw? What was the worst thing you had heard to make you go like, I'm done with this?
It was cumulative. There wasn't a final straw. It was just like, I need to do something else. So I'm like, I've always had a passion for dreams and dream interpretation. I always found it fascinating. I'm kind of a naturally fascinated by the occult and the mystical side of things. So I decided, let's give this dream interpretation thing a try. And, here we are like 5 years later, and I've got 17 books and just finished recording episode 180 of the actual dream interpretation episode. So, and I'll say to your audience out there, if you have a dream, I want to talk to you. I'm usually, I don't have enough dreamers, so let's do this thing. I will talk to anyone. We're all human. We all dream, and I find your dreams no less fascinating than someone famous. So, and actually, so I'm Ben. You said your name and I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Oh, the name's over there.
You just want me to? Do you want me to call you MSK or Master?
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
Mr.
That's
Top
fine.
G. Okay, that's fine.
Well, I was going to say, call me in bed.
Right. So I was going to say to you specifically, come on my show next time you have a dream. Anything you can remember, short, long, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
and
for
we
sure.
can make an episode. So I wanted to, be sure to extend that invitation.
It was crazy. I don't really typically dream as much as I used to when I was younger. I typically just go to sleep and I just wake up. I had a dream. The first dream I had in about months. I can't remember the last one I had. I did have one this morning. It was very weird, I would say. Yeah. Oh, good Lord. I think it was trying to tell me something, but then again, maybe it's just my mind playing tricks on me. That's what I always thought. Your dreams are either manifestations of stuff that is in your subconscious, or it's just stuff that is trying to show you something in the future. I don't know. Dreams could be anything, or some people just read too much into it, honestly.
You can. It is an art and a science in a way. I think so it fits very well with psychology. So your brief description there, your elaboration of thoughts about this subject is covered in all these books. I mean, so what are these? These are 17 works of historical dream literature. So I didn't write these books from whole. Like I've got this one here, and it's all, you can see what one of the secrets of my show. It's backwards. I need to, when I raise my right hand, I need to see it like in a mirror. I can't do it any other way. So titles are, but this is The Fabric of Dreams. It was written by Catherine Taylor Craig back in the early 19 son of a gun. I don't know my own books. Wow, it's not even on the front page. It's like 1910, 1920, 1918. There we go. So, and she talks about dream lore, interpretation, ancient and modern, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of these books repeat some of the same material. A lot of it is with a new and fresh take. Anyway, it runs the gamut of, people have thought that dreams were nothing but you ate a moldy piece of cheese before you went to bed, and so you had nightmares. I mean, that was one way of looking at it. A lot of people believe dreams are nothing but meaningless fantasy, which honestly some of them can be. But then there's also the slice, and then I divide dreams into two broad categories myself. One is what am I trying to say? One is the I say lovingly spooky woo side of things. You've got visitations from the dead, you've got premonitions, all kinds of stuff, psychic connection between people. I don't know what to do with all that. Like, it's not my specialty. So I set that to the side and stay in my lane of the psychological significance, which, as you were saying, is, these are manifestations of the subconscious. These are, so when we go through life, our body like physically records every experience, everything we've ever thought, heard, smelled, tasted, touched, felt in our life is recorded in these neuronal connections in the brain, and that giant pool, ocean of experience is the subconscious, and stuff that is relevant to our life bubbles up in dreams. And so I mean, I'm rambling here. I'm gonna stop in just
No,
a
because
sec.
there's something I was going to add to that. You said
Please.
so a realistic dream. You know, people say sometimes they have dreams that feel realistic. Where, like, let's say if you fall, you actually felt it, but you didn't actually get hurt. What is that as a descriptive then? So if you feel something in
Yeah.
your dream, but it doesn't really have an impact on you on your body, but you felt it in your mind, what does that
Yeah,
mean specifically?
absolutely. Well, dreams are every bit as real as our sensations in real life. They just aren't physical is one way of looking at it. So
Uh,
the way I describe this to folks is that when you're dealing with, say, schizophrenia, a person specifically who hears voices, they put folks in functional MRI machines, and they said, hey, raise your hand or put your finger up when you're hearing a voice so we can time sync it to the fMRI. And what they found out was, when there was no noise in the environment, there was no one talking, and a person said yes, the schizophrenic said, yes, I'm hearing voices, the auditory processing center of their brains lit up. They were hearing something. So our like the classic philosophical question, how do I know I'm not a brain in a vat? Our brain is literally in a vat. It's sitting in there, and we process sensations from the world. So when the exterior world is shut off during sleep, we're experiencing things based on our imagination that are uh, appear to us and feel absolutely real, and we don't even question it. We often now, setting aside lucid dreams, but we often don't question, no matter how bizarre it is. It's like, well, of course I'm on the moon in in UGG boots and wearing a tricorn hat, and I'm looking for giant space whales. Why wouldn't I be? That's just what I
yeah,
do.
isn't that
So
everyone's dream?
yeah, right. So long story short on that is, like, what are dreams? And so the way I describe it is, um, dreams are basically what our actual thought process is when it's not filtered through consciousness. So we think in images and feelings, and then we translate it into words in our to focus it down for the purpose of communication. Now that because there's some people who don't think in images, they more think in sensations, and it changes, which is a fascinating thing about dream. There's so much to say about dreams too. If you are born blind people don't dream visually; they dream in sounds and tactile sensations. So your physical limitations in life can very often dictate what your dream experience will be. Long story short on that. Some people say, hey, I don't dream. Like me, I would describe it as I don't dream because I don't remember experiences from sleep. 99.9%. I come out of it with nothing. But I believe we dream all night long, 100%. They did the I'm throwing so much at you, but this is
That's
while
fine.
it's
No, I
while
love
it's
it.
well, thank you. While it's fresh, I got to get it out there, or I'll forget what I'm saying. So people used to think you only dream during REM sleep, and that's your rapid eye movement. Your eyes are closed, they're swinging back and forth, because they were fascinated by that phenomenon, and they said, let's study it. And they would wake people up during REM sleep, and people would report, yes, I was dreaming. And then, oh, look, science has proven you only dream during REM sleep. And then they said, wait a minute, what happens if we wake people up during other times, non-REM sleep? They woke people up and they said, hey, were you dreaming? And like everybody reported, yes, I was dreaming. No matter when you wake someone up during the night, you're interrupting a dream. Those experiences don't always make it into memory and then get carried out to be observed as a
Mm.
from the perspective of conscious attention. Um, so the way I phrase it, I've got all these stock phrase, 5 years of like, how do I explain this to myself? The lungs breathe, the heart beats, and the brain thinks, and it does it whether you're awake or asleep. So we are all constantly dreaming all night long. And but then we don't always remember. So you said you actually woke up this morning, and this happens to me a lot. I'll have someone contact me, and we make an appointment out for like a month because that's the soonest our schedules align. They had a dream in mind, and then the night before they talk to me, they have another dream. They're like, we got to do that one. I'm like, that's how it works. That's how dreams are.
Yeah.
They kind of self-select for importance. And sometimes, especially if you've got an opportunity, say, to make the most of an experience, a dream will come to say, hey, pay attention to this because this is important and this is something you can understand if you're going to, put your attention to it. Here's something to take advantage of the opportunity. I'm going to stop there. Said a lot.
Now, the other thing about, let's say, dreams because these wouldn't be, I don't think they would be considered dreams. Let's just say, people are like standing and like just thinking about stuff, and you have, let's say, like flashbacks towards your past, or you're trying to conceptually visualize what exactly happened in those moments. Those aren't considered dreams, right?
Like daydreaming, you're talking about, like
Yeah,
the idea
yeah.
of just visualizing while awake.
Yeah, trying to perfectly visualize what exactly happened. Like, you think you know what happened, but then you might miss out a detail. Is that just considered just daydreaming, essentially?
Yeah, there is a tremendous amount of overlap between dreams, daydreams, imagination, fantasy, being suddenly lost in thought. What do we call that? It's wool gathering. Well, they usually call it daydreaming, but there's conscious attention to daydreaming. There's, I
Yeah,
just lost my concentration. I wandered off in my own mind, and it happens to me all the time.
yeah.
But also with that and the idea of delusions and hallucinations. So there was a whole period in history where they're trying to tease out like what is going on here? What are these symptoms and what do they mean? And what's the difference between a dream and a delusion or a hallucination? And in some ways, because of what the phenomenon is, we could say that dreams are a hallucination you have when you're asleep. Fair enough. It's not actually happening. It's you're seeing these visuals. So there's if we separate it out a little bit, there's probably a more of a relationship between dreams and involuntary daydreaming where your mind wanders, and on the opposite side of it would be more um, consciously attempting recall of a specific memory or attempting to create a new memory, a fantasy, not a new memory, but a fantasy, an imaginary event that never happened. Like you're telling us, inventing a new story. So those would be because what we got going on in dreams is we don't. Again, setting aside lucid dreaming, which also I don't understand very well. I don't know that anyone does. But what's going on in dreams is more of an involuntary. It's not filtered through conscious attention. You're not choosing, like, whatever you are, the you that is conscious and present when you're awake is not there in the same way when you're asleep. So the things that come up are relevant to your waking life very often, or well, I would say always relevant to your waking life and experience and your thought process and your feelings. But the fact that it's out of voluntary control, you're not now. Okay. And again, there are people who believe in dream programming, which you can do to a degree. I don't have a method that I would recommend necessarily, but people swear by it. And it is a real phenomenon. I'm not meaning to downplay it, just staying in my lane.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
go ahead.
What about like things like nightmares then? People say they have night terrors.
Sure.
What is that? Basically, is that on the same spectrum of having a dream, but it's basically having the worst manifestations of your worst, deepest, darkest fears, from what I've learned?
Very well can be. I mean, life is scary and dangerous. There's all kinds of things that could kill you, and sometimes the nightmares are not even about physical things. It's like, like a social character assassination can bring on a nightmare. You're not going to die, but man, you're going to be embarrassed, and it is connected to maybe social status. Sometimes has relationship to your ability to economically sustain yourself. So it's not that they're entirely disconnected, but I would say the secret to it is like the intensity of the emotion. So if you're having a nightmare, something is really bothering you, something very important to you, physically, psychologically, emotionally, the threat to a relationship, a threat to your very life. It could be, but often we couch these things that are not physically dangerous to us. They're socially dangerous or emotionally dangerous. We don't want to experience intense negative emotions. So we put it in a dream where metaphorically we're exploring so we say, I'm under threat in my waking life in a way that, it feels as if I'm being chased by a giant monster that's going to eat me. And then we look at what form did the monster take? What environment did you put it in? What was your what was the sequence of events during the dream that shows maybe how you got into that situation, how it's related to your life, and what you think might be the likely outcome of that situation is there anything you can do about it? So just exploring the dreams, we relate it to real life, and then we look at what are the things that's going on in real life that maybe we can do something about to make your life better. That's kind of the whole point of the dream interpretation thing. Solving the mystery is fun. I love that. I love doing a little, crazy Dr. House type of
Yeah.
thing. I'm trying to be like the Sherlock Holmes of dreams here. But it also has real life practical application. Hopefully it can make your life better to understand these things. I'll stop it.
What's the science behind, let's say, dreaming? So is more dreaming considered good for the mind, or is less dreaming considered better?
Well, so going back through the history, why did I write these books? Like where do I start? I resurrected, edited, and reproduced these books as my own kind of masterclass on dreaming. I'm like, I had exactly the same questions as you. What's going on with this thing? What have all the great minds in the past thought and asserted about this subject? So some of the earliest, and by early, we're talking like 2000 years ago, they thought dreams were put there by the gods. I mean, you go to the Greeks and you would say like literally Orpheus, or was it Orpheus or Morpheus, sorry, was the god of dreams. And there were different types of dreams, and sometimes a dream would be put there by Zeus or Athena, and it was external influence. So then that changed, 2000 years later. Here we are in modern times, and we're trying to be more objective and scientific about these things. It was pretty commonly accepted medically that dreams are intended to preserve sleep. They started from there he goes. Come here, buddy. You're gonna make a mess.
Yeah.
There are all kinds of biological processes that go on. Maybe our bladder's full, maybe it's a little chilly, maybe we've got too many blankets on and we're hot. So some of these sensations that we experience during sleep do bleed through into dreams. And the theory back then was that dreams were inspired by these physical sensations in order to preserve sleep. So we would have a dream, we would have a mental process occur that would keep us sleeping so that we didn't constantly wake up due to discomfort. Is that the entirety of what dreams are and where they come from? Absolutely not. But it is an element. So when I'm talking to people and I'm trying to do an interpretation, there's all these different things I got to tease out of, like, is there any way this was physical sensations during sleep that bled into the dream? Maybe they are, maybe they're not. And then I just go with my gut. I don't have a method. I just do what I do. I just talk to people. We try and figure it out. So what was your original question? What is sleep, or what are dreams?
Oh, sorry.
Why do they exist?
Would more or less dreams be considered like a good thing?
Yeah. Well, as I was saying earlier, I believe we did you want to read?
No. Was he late? I'm like, well, girls, if they're late, that would mean that they're whatever. Doesn't matter. Jeez, I think guys can be late. That's not how that works.
If you're not 15 minutes early, you're already late. Isn't that what they say?
Sure.
Something like that.
I'm always on time for the shows. Everyone knows that.
Well, you know what it is too. Well, so just a brief diversion here. Like you said, I'll send it to your email, and then I actually had to go to my Twitter to find the link because it never showed up in my email. So I was 5 minutes late because I'm waiting for this link that never showed up. I believe you sent it. I didn't get it. I don't know why.
You came. At least you came. You're not like my dad. See, there you go. We're already making progress here.
There you go. Okay, so is more dreaming good or bad? I would say it's entirely neutral. So I think there's biological differences in each of us, and there's behavioral differences, there's psychological differences, and all of these kind of combine together to create the effect of I remember more of my dreams or I remember less of my dreams. So I think what I've got going on with me is purely biological. Wherever my dreaming takes place in the in all the brainwave stuff, it's too deep for me to carry it out. But it's happening, and I know it's happening because I will go to. And so this is where dream programming comes into. I don't have a method, but I know for sure I have gone to bed confused or uncertain of how to solve a specific problem. I have no dream that I can remember, but I wake up the next day with an answer. I wake up with a solution to that problem. So I tell people, it's not just a metaphorical, oh, sleep on it as in give it time and ignore the problem. No, I mean, literally sleep on it. If you don't know what to do about some problem, sleep on it. And there's a good chance an answer is going to come to you. So all of this is kind of dancing around the idea is more dreaming, better than less dreaming, and not necessarily. It almost doesn't matter because you do dream every night. Some people maybe feel, what am I trying to say? Some people might feel like they're being cheated out of an experience because they don't remember them. I do a little bit. I talk to people about their dreams all the time. It's down there. Go get it. Go get it. Jesus, you get a new cat. You get, your hand just turns a hamburger. So I'm a little jealous maybe of people that dream more often or can remember their dreams. Like I just, I have remembered maybe a handful, five in my entire life. I'm pushing 50 here, so once a decade I get a dream I can remember. But otherwise, it's not a sign necessarily that anything's wrong. It can be if there's changes in your patterns. And this is usually how psychology works too. It's like, doc, what's normal? I'm like, I don't know what's normal for you. Let's talk about that first. What's your typical patterns? How are they working? So if you're someone who dreamed every single night and had vivid recall, and then some event happens or you change a behavior pattern, and suddenly you're not remembering your dreams anymore, that could be a problem for you. There's some people who say, they were alcoholics for 20 years and then they quit and they never dreamed, and now they dream every night. It's like, so there are chemicals you could taking different substances can absolutely alter how your recall of dreams is affected.
So don't do crack.
I can't say from personal experience that that's a good or a bad thing specifically in relation to dreams. I can say probably not good biologically or for
the hallucination
your
thing
social
you're
life.
talking about. Don't people
Yeah.
take like those certain mushrooms to have hallucinations?
Yeah, absolutely. There's all kinds of, and then there's people who have reported a change in their dreaming based on taking psychedelic mushrooms and then going to sleep and like having really, really trippy dreams.
Where you're probably some squid getting like beaten down by Tyrone or something.
Could be. That would be very interesting. It's like, now why am I a squid and where am I in the ocean? What am I doing? And then we explore. Well, I don't know if you wanted to do this. You said you had a dream last night. Did you want to talk about it a little bit and see if we can figure something, or do you want to save that and come on my show and be like a teaser?
Oh no, I've dreams about plenty. I remember a lot of them too. Good. This one from this morning was, man, it was a tank and it had a hammerhead shark in it, but the hammerhead shark never actually attacked anything. The person was just holding it down, and I was just looking. That's all I remember from it. That was the only thing that happened at all.
It's a very brief little episode. So just before we jump into that, we'll talk about it a little bit. One of the So okay, I'm going to back this. Now I'm going to add way too much, but let's talk about you. Wait, I have things to say.
That's fine.
Right? Well, I'm a guest. I got to do my part too. So I did. So I'm on episode 180 right now. So my episode 100, the special mystery guest was me. I talked about 2 dreams I could remember from my college days that actually opened my eyes to the possibility of dream interpretation being a real psychological thing. But one of my most recent quasi dreamlike experiences, this is what usually follows me out of sleep as like the most clarity and detail I can ever get. I was standing behind the open rear passenger side door of a white car. That's it. That's the only image, impression, sensation that came out of that. And that's like more detail and clarity than typically. Mostly I'm not even aware that I had a dream. I just wake up, suddenly I realize I'm awake. There's no impression or memory of a dream whatsoever. But when I do, very rarely, it's usually like that. So you had the image or experience of standing and looking at a large fish tank.
Yeah, I think the takeaway from it was, I have to essentially get myself out of being held down, because obviously I've watched a lot of shark stuff in my entire life, like documentaries, shark movies, and I realize, and sharks love obviously not being caged in. Sharks like swimming around constantly. Actually, sharks have to, actually, by their physiology, have to constantly move. They are constantly moving creatures. And I realized earlier this year, I was kind of holding myself back in this like box. So I guess that was a takeaway from it. Is, get out of the cage and get back to where you were before. Because I was in a different mindset many years ago. Was another YouTube channel that I had that got taken down because of hate speech, bullshit like that. So
Yeah,
I was
that's a shame.
subconsciously, like, I think, holding myself back on this one. And I think it's just next year, obviously, I'm going to start doing things a lot more consistently. So I think I got the takeaway from the dream. It's just, easier said than done when, you're old and your back's thrown out and you have to work a 9 to 5,
Oh, yeah.
Although also kept having random dreams about, throughout the many years, I kept having random dreams about snakes. I'm not even scared of snakes at all. I don't like snakes. I wouldn't be around a snake, but randomly snakes would just be in my dreams and I would just want to step on them or something like that. I just don't know where that came from at all.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, there very often dreams will come with their own answers. Like you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh yeah, I'm like the shark in the tank. And sometimes the meaning is really clear. It's like, yeah, it's like I'm being held down in a space that's too small. That doesn't allow me to thrive. And then, if we were to do the full analysis, we'd look at, well, like what was the environment you were in? What was the unfolding of the process of
no, it was me literally standing and was completely dark. And it's just a fish tank with I think that's the most realistic looking shark I've ever seen in my dreams in my entire life. It was just a hammerhead shark that was just being held down by someone. You didn't see the person's face. It was just that was it. I woke up tomorrow, I was like, it's a lot more realistic than it used to be. That's crazy.
Yeah, and so you could you couldn't see any characteristics of the person doing the holding.
Not even close. I couldn't remember at all.
Oh my God. That's fine. No, and it may not be relevant. And sometimes the lack of,
maybe that was myself.
It could be yourself. I mean, if that was,
it was dark, then it'd be obviously easy resemblance there.
Well, and also what you don't describe, there's a lot of counterfactuals. What I do is I get counterfactuals. Like you don't describe that it was in a specific setting. It was distinctly just a dark landscape to focus
that's why
all
this
the attention.
Very rare. Usually if I ever do dream, it's always very descriptive. There's light, something like I could tell you scenery and everything. This was one of the ones I think of my entire life. Everything, it was just pitch black. Everything was just black.
Yeah, and that has its own type of meaning. It's like devoid of context, devoid of background. This is where I start letting my brain kind of go explodey and like, you ever done those you maybe you have or you haven't, but like the what is it? Where you do like a thought bubble and you write down a word or an idea and then you do all the connecting thoughts, anything that comes in. It's kind of a free association thing, which is why I'm a big fan of Freud and Jung and their work. But a lot of times then what I'm trying to do is help people see their own visions more clearly. And during the process of talking about it, usually more details come back than you present on the first telling. There was a tank, there was a shark, there was a guy. But then when we get into it, there's a little bit more there. So we start looking at the idea of, it's in an empty void in a way. It's devoid of context. It's without background, meaning that there's something about this idea in itself that is not dependent on the setting that you put it in. It's more of a universal thing. So even just the setting of a dream tells us a lot about how you're conceptualizing this specific type of problem. So you didn't set it in your home studio. You didn't. This was not a fish tank that is, behind you on the wall.
No, I'm not. Nothing. Yeah, I can't even. It can't have any animals here.
You're killing me, Smalls. Come here. Go get her.
Good God.
He's making a mess. I love that guy. We got to get his nuts snipped, though. I tell you what, he's too frisky.
Good Lord.
Yeah, we're gonna get him fixed as soon as we can. He'll mellow out a little bit. Stop eating my fingers. Yeah. So that is where I would now. This is what I do. I make suggestions like that. I don't say. I don't have any magic powers, really. Not in the way
you're not a wizard.
Like a wizard. Yeah, I am, but I'm not. There's, I don't conjure fireballs and but I do see the future and speak magic words. It's my thing. But none of this is in me. Like, I don't hear the voice of God. I don't have psychic powers. This is purely, can I use my ability to see, what I describe it as is like, you invite me in to the darkness of your own mind. I stand behind your shoulder as you show me around, and I'm just shining a flashlight going, hey, what do you see over there? Hey, what if we look at it from this angle? Like, the answers are not in me. It's not my dream. So
Yeah.
okay, all of that to say is that if I make a suggestion and it falls flat, like you don't feel anything, what I tell people to feel for is like a zing that goes like almost head to gut, where you go, wait a minute, that makes a lot of sense. That feels right. It's got to feel right or it's not. So it seemed like you had a moment like that when I said, yeah, it's in this, it's devoid of context, it's more universal. But then again, if I'm wrong, if you're like, I'm not feeling that, I'm like, okay, I rattled that doorknob. It didn't come open. We're going to try something else and look at it from a different angle. I don't ever want anyone to look at me like an expert. Like, if I tell you the way it is, then that's the way it is. Like, I'm making suggestions. What if it was like this? How does that feel? And you're like, yeah, that seems right. Or no, it doesn't. And then we try something else. Anyway.
The other thing I'll ask you
Yeah.
is, since you do content, what inspired you to do it? Were you watching someone on YouTube and you were like, I can do this too? Or you just always wanted to kind of talk to people?
That is interesting too. Before I dove into this, number one, this comes from a genuine lifelong fascination with the occult and mysticism and the idea that what is it, that mythology and storytelling is important to humans, that it's not just fantasy for kids. It's like deeply meaningful philosophical stuff that if you understand it properly, which, okay, small tangent. I plan to start a series very soon when I've got like 5 more of these books to publish that I'm just waiting to finish. I've been lazy. I used to do a lot more editing every day. Now I've been doing other stuff. When this series is done, I call this my augury, bibliomancy, and chaos series, the ABCs of dream interpretation. Then I'm going to get into the Wizard's Guide series, and it'll be a Wizard's Guide to Aesop's Fables, a Wizard's Guide to Greek mythology, trying to explain these stories and their psychological significance and why they aren't just fairy tales. And even Wizard's Guide to Grimm's fairy tales, those stories mean something too. The Pied Piper of Hamelin is a fantastic story that's about way more than a jilted piper and rats. Anyway, I was going somewhere with all that. Books, you asked me, what was the question? Damn, I went too far on the tangent.
Your journey in content creation.
That's right. I'm so glad you can remember things. Like, well, see, the same thing that makes me good at the dream interpretation makes me horrible at everything else. I'm legit aspie. My brain goes in a million directions at once. I usually can get back around to the point, but the journey into, oh, he's doing it. Come on, buddy. Where's your toy? Where's your toy? He's gonna, okay. That's what we're putting up with cats. That's how we do journey into content creation. I was going into the idea of mythology and stories, and so I've always had a fascination with dream interpretation. And I did a little bit of say market research before I started my channel. No one does what I do. Like, I think I'm the only guy. Now, there's some people who do tune in and I will tell you what the spirits say. Real occult mystic folks like that believe they're in connection with sources. There's people who do say biblical dream interpretations in a way. I think there was this one brother so-and-so guy, and what he would do is like he would take written stuff and say, this is what I think God is telling me about your dream. Like, I don't do any of that. I do what's like real lay down on the couch and tell me about your mother type dream interpretation. Oh, come on, buddy. He's killing me. Get it. Go. Oh, I call it value-added content. I sure do. So I've never had a real passion for like interviews and talking to people. Like, I'm actually a hermit. I like to be alone in my space with my cats. They don't expect me to talk to them, and that's fine with me. But to do this thing, I have to talk to people. So it's not a huge sacrifice, and I don't mind. I mean, I enjoy talking to you, and everyone I've ever talked to is like, it's fine in that context though. But invite me to a birthday party.
An introvert in real life, essentially.
For real. Yeah. Invite me to a birthday party. I'm going to say, oh, that means a lot. Thank you for the invitation. I'm not coming.
Because whenever I would go to parties, despite people sometimes inviting me, I would feel just so out of place there. Like, it's just not my thing.
I've had people say to me, "Oh, you must be fun at parties," and I say, "No, I'm definitely not." Good call.
I'm the opposite of fun. I'm literally just on my phone if I'm at a party, unless someone like talks to me. Then if someone talks to me, I'll be courteous. But I just hate parties.
Sure. I'm just a little too weird. Yeah. I'm not made for social.
So you weren't like ever into like the bar scene, going out and drinking like that?
I did a little bit, when I was younger. I mean, we're talking like 20 years ago. Yeah, I'm like pushing 50, but because I was bored and lonely, and I was looking to find a wife, and eventually I found
Mhm.
one. So, and then she and I would go out, just have fun, and then eventually we were both like over it. I've never been a big social butterfly. There's people who are like every week or every other day I need to talk to people or see people or interact with people. Um, Otherwise I feel bad, or I feel depressed, or what. I'm the opposite. I'm like, God, it's so stressful dealing with people, which is why I really enjoy keeping it in these more moderate, contained chunks. Like, we meet for a specific purpose, we do a thing, we have a great time, we have a connection, and it's fun for everybody, and then it's over, and then I go back to being a hermit for the other 1,000 hours in a week, that kind of thing. Um, but yeah, if you go back and watch, and I think they're all on YouTube, pretty sure. The earliest videos, like, I wasn't even on video. It was just people I knew in Discord, and I'm like, well, let's see what happens if I start doing this dream thing. Let's talk about dreams and see if I can make
Mhm.
this interesting. And I don't know if it's interesting. Some people listen, some people don't. I think most people have no idea who I am and never heard of me. So every time I get an opportunity to let people know. So now your audience, even if it was 10 people, hey, now 10 more people know about me. Maybe they'll bring me their dreams.
Yeah.
And I go on these shows too, and I have no idea. Like, I didn't do any research, but I don't know. I have no idea who you are or what you do. I have no idea the subscriber count of your channel. Doesn't matter to me. I don't care. I'll talk to anybody. It's fine.
Yeah, I've even told people this. Like, even when we have like guests on the shows, it doesn't have to be some big guest constantly. It could just be a regular, smaller to average size creator. The value is still the same to me, as long as the person can have a conversation and talk. Really, all it's fine to me. You have those. I pretty sure you've had some of those random one-on-ones you have with people where the conversation can get so dry, like because the person isn't giving a thoughtful, like actual
They're not
answer.
listening and responding to what you're actually saying. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It'll turn to the thing I like to say, like the European answers. They'll do like the one word answer kind of thing, like which favorite color? Red. Why? Oh, I just like it. Okay, well,
Yeah,
automatically, you know how that's gonna go. If you're pulling teeth this whole
for sure.
hour.
Yeah. Well, I've had a couple episodes with folks that were a little difficult to talk to because they weren't the most engaging or interesting. But it, that's harsh to say. You'll never know which one it was because I do my best with everybody. But there was one person that the episode never got. We had technical difficulty, so it just got deleted. I mean, and we never came back to finish it up again. But this person, it sounded like talking to talking points. It sounded like they had stock answers they were trying to give, and
Oh God, yeah.
it was so bad. And I got it from the perspective of, like, this is a business person. They're trying to maximize the experience. They're trying to advertise their product and get it all out there. It was a little constrained as well because this person was like, I have an hour. And I'm like, well, I'll do what I can with an hour. I've made episodes as short as 45 minutes. I've made episodes, one that went 4.5 hours, longest ever. No, 2 hours is average, 2.5. Yeah, but this person brought, excuse me. Yeah, buddy. This person brought me 3 distinct dream segments that all happened in the same night and that seemed to be connected. And I'm like, let's do this. Let's go. I clear the day when I'm talking to people. So I've had that gamut run. And there's some other things I would say. I'll just launch into some of the
Mhm.
disclaimers I give to people at the beginning. Like, you show up with me, and it's like I was asking you at the beginning, are we
Yeah.
recording now? Are we live or what? And you're like, not yet. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Just curious. It wouldn't bother me if we were. But I tell folks, when we're talking pre-recording, I'm not recording now. I do not record without permission. I do not release recordings without permission
Yeah.
given after we're done talking. And this is all because, for two reasons. Not only do I have the baseline ethical training in psychology, like, this is just the right thing to do. You don't take people's private shit and put it out there.
Makes sense.
I'm
Yeah.
not a drama farmer. I'm not looking for, he's eating the book. You cannot eat my books. Jesus, we're going to put that up there. So high ethical standards, but also people need to know that they can say anything and no one will ever hear it if they don't want them to, because that gets us better answers. If you're inhibited, if you can't freely associate and go wherever the dream takes you, we're not going to get a good answer for you. And I can always cut things out afterwards. I've removed small chunks. Like, one guy was like, hey, that 30 seconds where I talked talked about my niece. I don't have her permission to put her business on the internet. Can you cut that out? I did, and you'll never know what episode it was in because it doesn't matter. Didn't really take that much away from the dream in the greater context of talking about it, but it did kind of help put some pieces together in relation to another part of the dream that I was able to talk about without putting that private information in there. So I would rather get to the end of an episode of a recording session and have someone say, wow, that was amazing. You helped me understand something very important. Ben, I'm sorry, you can't put that on the internet. That was way too personal. I would rather delete that episode than give someone a bad answer. And that's perfectly fine with me. I'm absolutely serious about that. So the people know what they're in for. It's not just no one signs a release. This is all just a handshake over the internet, and we do the thing.
Agreement. Yeah.
Yeah, you own the product as much as I do. When I've done with the editing, you can cut it up, you can re-release it, you can do whatever you want. I don't care.
Mhm.
It's as much your episode as it is mine. I'm not really too concerned about the money end of things in that regard. Like, oh no, I have to protect my channel and the advertising. I'm not even monetized anyway. I don't care. So
yeah, they I think they just gave me the email to be monetized.
nice.
I haven't even went to go fill it out because as you before, I had a bigger channel before this that I've been doing content since 2015 of October. Yeah, I've been doing this for a long time.
Very cool.
When I lost my big channel because of bullshit, I had a backup channel because you always have a backup, and I branded this one into my main channel. Then I have my other subsequent ones for all my other niches. Well, the comic one is almost at 100 subscribers now, and then the other two I want to get off the ground going in 2025. That's my other focus too. So, I'm all busy right now. I'm making sure I'm backing up everything on like Rumble because you saw me in that Rumble thing. All the pre-recorded videos I've uploaded to this channel are all going to get uploaded to Rumble after I get done uploading a few other things there for safekeeping, because if it happens again, at least I'm going to be protected this time around. I won't lose everything.
For sure. Yeah. You always got to expand out to alt tech because, man, there's been some shenanigans with YouTube. And
do you like being on Rumble?
Censorship.
I don't know if you have a Rumble channel yourself.
I do. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I upload everything to Rumble. I do 4 different things. But anyway, so I got the books, and that's my thing. I do the dream interpretation videos, and I also do video game streaming Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific. And I'm live on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Kick, and X all at the same time. Rumble it's absolutely the backup for everything. And I'd recommend it. I mean, if you're listening to this show and you're a content creator on YouTube only, get a Rumble account, because you never know when the next new manager is going to say, oh no, sorry, you're getting canceled for something, and all of your content is gone. Like, what?
Even if I had just uploaded the content to Rumble, even if I don't have the channel, I had the content saved there, that would have been great. The only thing I managed to save was the first podcast I did where I used to do a podcast where I would just take it off live, because YouTube back in the day used to punish you for having live streams up. So I took it down, edited it into a video, and just released it pre-recorded after doing it live. And then I had the Nightwing podcast, which was just I just left it up. That's the last thing I had from there. And everyone can still find these episodes on the podcast platforms. They're all still there. All the podcasts will be the Nightwing podcast, the Cloud9 podcast, the Iron Man podcast, which I messed up on. That was my biggest one. It was 608 episodes. I completely messed up on it. I was like, you know what? Only way to salvage this is starting over, and that's where we're at now. So this one eventually is not going to be at 600 episodes, because for me to get that one at 600 episodes, dude, I think I was doing 5 one-on-ones a day to get it up there. And then when I realized I messed up, I was like, you know what? I'm taking it slow this next time. This final time around, we're just going to take it slow.
For me, I can do about one of these interactions. I can do an interview. I can do a dream interpretation. I can do about one a day. That's my maximum. I've done 2 in one day, and the second one was, I was fatigued. I mean, I put 110% of my brain in concentration, and it's exhausting. I'm just sitting here in a chair and staring at a computer monitor and yelling at a stick. But like, I stole that from Phil Labonte. Sorry.
I mean, to be fair, I'm pretty sure that when you break it down like that, I think that's what we're all doing. Because recently there's been this conversation of what's harder, a 9 to 5 or streaming. And I was trying to tell people I don't think there's anything harder than a 9 to 5, right? Because with streaming,
Yeah.
even though I love doing it, I love podcasting, I love making videos, I love it more than I've loved it just as much as I do when I first started. But if you're just like you said, you have to extrapolate. They never do this, like you said. They don't extrapolate everything. They look at things in such a surface level, their brains are not ever able to think about something in a much more bigger way. They think of like things like an A and B. I was trying to tell people for this specifically was that when it comes to doing content creation, you simply are just sitting in a chair talking. Okay. At the base minimum level, there's nothing hard about that. Literally anybody could do that. Like actually anybody can do that because we've seen like people younger than us do it, you know?
Oh yeah.
So there's nothing more strenuous than a 9 to 5 because a 9 to 5 could be hard labor, difficulty paying your bills, right? All types of things. Like if you tell me that I could do this be my 9 to 5 and I can make enough money to pay all my bills, of course I do it because this is way easier. This is way less real life because I'm an introvert like myself. On my days off live like you think I'll go outside unless I'm going to the store or else I'm getting food, then I just stay inside or I go to the gym. So
and I like to walk outside in my backyard. I don't want to go in public. That's I stay home. By staying home, I mean I walk outside.
I'll walk outside. You know,
I touch grass occasionally. It is there is grass. Yeah. It's everywhere.
Like I'll feel the sunlight. I'll walk down the street to the restaurant and get some food. But that's about like 10 minutes down the street. You know, that's something like super far. You know?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like I won't ever make all that money doing this. Sign me up. I'll do it.
And I won't ever pretend that this sitting at a desk is harder than say manual labor. Definitely not. But in terms of like people's abilities, like and here's the thing too. It's like, you know, not everyone is cut out for manual labor. Not everyone is cut out to do this kind of work either. And it just means that we all have different talents. You know, I don't think I'm special. I think I'm different than maybe the next person. I do enjoy the idea that I'm a little bit special because I don't think still to this day, 5 years later, no, as I say, nobody knows who I am. And I'm not the most successful. I'm not the next Jordan Peterson or anything, but I still don't think anyone else does exactly what I do. And I don't know if they tried, if they could do it as well. Maybe I like to think I'm a little unique. We all want to think we're a little special. I'd like to think I'm the best wizard, but there are certainly now what I would love to do is it someday inspire copycats. Like part of what I'm doing with my show too is that I can't talk. I hope to have the problem someday that I can't talk to everybody that wants to be a guest. And what I want to give folks is an example of how to do this for yourself, how to pay attention to your own dreams, keep a dream journal, and then you can go and kind of do as I do, actually write out the dream and start asking yourself questions. What is that? What does that make me think of? What concept is that related to? And what I try to give folks by the end of a session with me is the idea of, well, let's tell a story. Let's make a story arc out of the dream. And usually if we can tell a story about what the dream was trying to say, it gives an insight, as I was saying, into a person's waking life, and then they can do something with it. Some of the most, it's kind of tangential, but some of the most satisfying experiences have been where a person was having recurring nightmares. They brought that recurring dream to me. We talked about it, and immediately, less than a week later, I hear from them, the nightmare has changed. I'm able to move past a blockage in the dream and now move on to exploring other important things because we solved the problem that was creating the blockage. Like, it doesn't get any better than that for me. I just want to give people something useful out of it. So, and that's where I get into some of the mystical side of things of like, where does this, let's say I am, for whatever reason, capable of giving someone something useful from an interaction with me. I don't like to take credit for that. I like to say I open myself up to the spirit of being useful, and that spirit in a way comes into me and delivers something that I couldn't cause to happen on my own talents or I feel like something moves through me when I'm helping people and it actually works. It's kind of like the way you get the football player and they go down on one knee and they point at the sky, glory to God. That's kind of what I'm doing. I don't know what it is that moves through me, but that's what it feels like during the experience. I don't know where my inspirations and ideas come from, and I don't want to take credit for things that it seemed like they just magically happened to me during the process. So long story short on that one. That's anyway.
Though I wanted to ask you, we were talking about your books the whole time. So
Yeah.
are you're an author yourself, right?
Well, these are all historical reproductions. I am
Okay.
primarily an editor. There will be new works authored solely exclusively by me. Well, there'll be a blending of new and old material. Like with these books, the only thing new, hey, 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 go. The only thing new in them is the forward and my editing style, and I do change some things. Like so, one of these books was written in Middle English, which they spelled things completely differently in the 1600s. So I had to go through and change the spelling of every single word almost to the modern spelling. And sometimes in some of these, the rules of English and writing were a mess for years. There's one book, I think it was book 7, Tyrion's Dreams and Visions. There was an entire paragraph long sentence that had like 17 different ideas in it, and I took like 45 minutes to an hour to untangle that one sentence and break it up into discrete ideas with periods and commas. And, you know, it was like, wow, that talk about run on sentences. So I actually do a lot of work to bring these, to make these accessible to a modern audience who's not going to take the time to try and figure out what this guy was trying to say with words that are spelled wrong and no punctuation. So I'm actually, but I don't want to ever give the impression that I wrote me 17 books. They this one's Catherine Taylor Craig. I've got one. I've got Mary Arnold Forster. I've got a Frank Seafield. All of these writers from everywhere from the 1500s to the early 1900s, and it runs the gamut of all almost everything anyone has ever thought about dreams in the entirety of human history. And one of them is was the so I find these obscure documents and I reproduce them, of course, and no one's ever heard of them. So one of them is called it's titled Dreams in Homer and Greek Tragedy, and this was a late 1800s PhD candidate's doctoral thesis to become a member of the Academy of Philosophy at his university. And so and he talks about how the ancient Greeks conceived of sleep and dreams in terms of the gods and whatnot, but and he drew that from the Odyssey and the Iliad, and then a variety of Greek tragedies, plays where dreams played a role. I'm like, that's just fascinating to me. Like I've read, by the time these are published, I've read each of these books like 7 times, and it really informs my, because you read it through once, just to read it, and then you read it again to start editing, and then you go back and you edit again. Editing it's a real job. My God. But anyway, that's how I get all this information. And you originally asked me if I was an author. I'm an editor mostly, but yes, when I get to the Wizard's Guide series, that'll be a lot more original content where I'm gathering, because I'm not the first person to consider that the stories of King Arthur and the Round Table actually have some philosophical meaning and that they were told for a reason. So I'm going to gather other authors' works and make my own, other. I'm gonna have to be really careful with my citations too. I don't want to steal any ideas that other people have had and pass it off as my own. So that's going to be its own interesting research topic. So I hope that answered your question.
Oh no, you're fine. Because on your how did you get better as a content creator throughout the years? Because people start at some place, but then you end up in like your final form. Were you pretty bad when you first started, like a lot of people?
Awful. Yeah. And the my very first, I think the first 5 episodes, it is literally me recording a screen capture of the Discord voice chat. And I'm just talking to somebody. I was not on camera, the guest was not on camera, there was no production value, there was no intro outro editing. I mean, as I've gone along, I've gotten better at learning how to use Streamlabs OBS to broadcast the video game streams. And way back in the beginning, I wasn't doing as much production value on those either. Well, now I've got, for for every single new video game, I have a teaser trailer. I have a custom intro that I made using usually free music from the internet and now AI music. I've started to use Suno AI to compose background music because now it doesn't have the copyright issues. But so each time I go live, the first thing you're going to see is almost like an anime intro, a little 30 to 60 to 90 second custom, edited video set to music, a music video for the game I'm playing. And let's see. So for the there's one out right now. It's on my channel, of course. It's at YouTube, Benjamin the Dream Wizard on YouTube. I need to upload it to Rumble and BitChute. Actually, there's a lot of Odyssey. There's a bunch out there. Long story short,
holy God,
right? Well, BitChute used to be okay. Tangent here, but they used to mirror all of my videos and put them up automatically. It was like an automatic upload thing.
Yeah, I remember.
And then they stopped doing that, and it shrunk. They shrunk the size of videos you could upload as well. So anything over like 2 gigs or something. So my 2.5 hour episodes are, I can't even upload.
Yeah, I was putting out. I made an account there to upload a few episodes of the other podcast I just did before I had to reboot it to this one, and I would upload the episodes in order, and then when I would check, they were out of order, and then I had to go in the account and delete them all, re-upload them in order. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like all the alternate media for it to actually be sufficient, basic stuff like that would have to be figured out first,
Yeah. YouTube is way ahead of the curve in terms of a lot of those things, of like the ease of creating playlists and organizing content on your page so people can find it. Rumble's got to catch up, and certainly things like Odyssey and BitChute got to catch up as well. It's like I need more content creator tools for customizing how I present myself on the main page. I've tried creating playlists, but they just don't appear properly. It's very so then I just gave up. And like on Rumble, it's just chronological. The most recent things at the top, whatever it is, whatever I just did is at the top, and then you can go scroll down if you want to. But I would like to. So what I do on my YouTube channel is there's the usually it's the latest video game trailer at the top, whatever current game I'm playing. Under that is all the Dreamscapes episodes. Under that is I've done audiobook versions. I'm terrible. You don't want to listen to most of them. The most recent ones are actually pretty good. But I've done, free audiobook versions, and then that's its own playlist. And then under that is all the Dream Wizard Plays episodes. And then under that is actually collected discrete playlists of each game. So if you're interested in I played Psychonauts 2, you can find that, and then there's just a playlist of my playthrough of that game, starting with episode 1, or going through the list. I haven't figured out how to do that kind of content organizing on the main page on Rumble, and maybe I'm just retarded. Maybe it's easy and I just haven't figured it out. But as far as I can tell, it's not possible on Rumble, on BitChute, Odyssey. They got to catch up with that.
I checked your channel. You like to play Final Fantasy, don't you?
I don't think I've ever played that one. Did you see something that was similar, or
it was either Final Fantasy or you played? Oh my God, I can't remember. Holy shit! Maybe it was you or someone else. Man, all you guys look the same now. Holy fuck!
Yep. It might have been someone else. I haven't played that one. What have I played recently? I just did. This was a horrible mistake. I did Sober October, and I played all of the most scary horror games I could find. Son of a bitch! That was a. I've made a terrible mistake, Michael. I played the Dead Space remake. I played a Cthulhu type game called The Sinking City, which was terrible. Don't play it. Don't even watch my playthrough. It was awful game. It's very disappointed. But I just played all the scariest games. So now I'm actually leaning away from that. And what was my latest game is it's a palate cleanser after all that horror games for.
Oh my God! I said Final Fantasy. You played Dead Space.
There you go. Yes. Good Dead Space. God. I can't even remember what the other games were. One of them was The Invincible. I played that was fun. I like playing games that I've never heard of. That I'm like,
you played Mirror's Edge. You did play Black Myth Wukong.
Yeah, that was a mistake too. God, that game was awful. I cheated like a bastard.
Really? they people were praising it because it sold a lot of copies, but like people understand, just because it sells well doesn't mean it's actually like a good game. That's going to be subjective amongst us, right?
Well, I don't mean to say it was a bad game. I think it was a fantastic game. It was bad for me. It was a game that really demanded precision skill. Ben, you suck at this game. Get good. Yes, I suck. I was so bad I had to cheat or I was never going to finish it. I downloaded the WeMod cheat program that gave you a certain number of hours a day of free whatever, and I gave myself infinite life and unlimited. What my favorite thing to do was you had this ability of making a clone or 2 or 3 clones of yourself. Well, I did the unlimited monkey horde and I would just clone and send 50 clones after every boss. I didn't beat a single one of them legit. And I'm not ashamed to say that I suck. That was my very first attempt at playing any Souls-like game where it takes skill and precision and dedication. You got to learn the strategy. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just playing games, man. That's way too fucking hard. I am not good enough for that. And I don't have a problem admitting it either. I'm not I'm not Dr. Disrespect. I'm not the guy you watch to be amazed by how good I am. I'm the guy you watch because you're probably better than me and you just want to laugh at me having fun. That's it.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure you've seen all the gaming controversy around. It's just been out of this world crazy, honestly.
All kinds of. I'll tell you, I'm looking forward to Stellar Blade coming in 2025. I'm definitely going to play that.
Okay.
Hopefully, it's not a Souls-like. God damn it! I want it to be easy, or I'll use the cheat codes again. Fuck it.
I have a Switch, and I have another thing I'm going to be setting up for gaming too. I've been gaming my entire life. The thing I probably do regret. Yeah. I probably should have never I would always turn in the older console to get the newer one. I should have probably not did that. I think that was a mistake.
Maybe it's hard to know because in the moment you're like, well, I can't afford the new one without the trade-in. So yeah, am I ever going to play these old games? And you think, yeah, probably not. Yeah, I made this, and it's only a mistake in retrospect. You look back and go, damn, I wish I'd saved all that stuff. Yeah, I've been a gamer all my life too. I started on the Atari 2600 back in the early 80s, way back when. And I was a big fan of the Sierra games on the on the PC in the 90s, King's Quest and what's the only one I can think of at the moment? Monkey Island, Leisure Suit Larry. Remember all those? And then, I think the last console I owned was probably a Super Nintendo way back when. I've been a PC gamer ever since. So yeah. But I only started, streaming in the last 5 years or so. Before that, oh yeah, I made a lot of mistakes in terms of getting way too much into MMOs. I think I played let's see, between 99 and 2005 I played EverQuest for 5 years. Like WoW people.
You never played World of Warcraft?
I did. I had a knee surgery in back in 2007 and I spent about 90 days popping perkies and leveling a dwarven hunter. And then not 90 days. What is it? 6 weeks? What is that? That's not 90. It's not 3 months was way too long. It took me about 6 weeks to recover. That was I call it my Viking vacation. That was fantastic. But that let me know that I'm going to save that addiction for late in life. We're not going to. It was too much fun. But anyway, yeah, that was my experience with World of Warcraft. I maxed out the levels. Level 60 something. I got a griffin, and in about 6 weeks, and I'm like, well, I'm done. It's time to.
So you've just been a PC gamer for the longest, essentially. You were on PC Master Race forever.
Oh, back in the day. Yeah. Well, and I'm better with a mouse and keyboard. I'm just better. And so games that make me pick up, and I have a little, I've got my game controller here. Okay. One of the things that sucked about the Sinking City is it allowed reprogramming keys. And this is one of my big gripes in gaming these days. It allows reprogramming keys, but then some of the keys didn't work. It would say, well, hit the arrow key to tab between these two things. It didn't work. Now, if I reprogram the keys back to the original WASD, that worked just fine. But as soon as I put it back on the arrow keys, it stopped working. So what I had to do was leave everything the way it was so I could play 99% of the rest of the game. And at this one specific thing where you needed to switch between two tabs, I had to turn this fucker on, hit one button and put it down. And now I could continue with the game. Like, game designers, I'm on my knees. I'm begging you, figure out the key binding situation. Make it completely open and universal so that people can play upside down and inside out if they want to. Just stop it. stop it with the key binding thing. Hopefully they'll figure that out at some point.
All games, they're having that now, where you have to bind your keys, customize them a certain way. It's like, if I don't mind it on certain things, but it's like, I'm not trying to bind my keys on every single random game. That's just stupid. Like, why can't there just be a default? Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, well, I do it because now, and there's folks who are left-handed and they play right hand on the arrow keys and the mouse is over here. Otherwise, they're playing like this with the keyboard. Now that I do the opposite, actually, I've been an arrow keys player since Doom 2 in 93 or something like that. So every time, and my problem is that I have no muscle memory for WASD. I cannot. I've tried, but 40 years later. So I've got to have it on the arrow keys. And then I've got my consistent, I use my pinky is always jump and my thumb over on the number pad 0 is always crouch, and reload is always the end key, right above, and interact is always shift. So in every game I play, I have to rebind all the keys away from WASD. So I would, I'm just telling them to figure that shit out. And autosave is the other thing too. It's like, can we get over the autosave thing and like allow more manual saving? It's like, let me figure out the key binds, figure out the saving. That's my rant. It's my biggest gripes.
God, man. It's just so many things have changed with gaming over the years where I'm like, I get innovation is necessary for certain things, but there's some things that just don't need to be innovated on because there's nothing wrong with them. That's the problem. Is everything got innovated on to a point now where, like, you've seen the PS5 Pro and what Sony's been doing. It's like, oh my God, look at the great quality picture of this tree. I can see it's more realistic. And it's like, average people don't give a fuck about that.
I do like pretty graphics, but I want a game that plays well too. I mean, tell me a story. And that's the other thing I've gotten into lately is I've gotten away from open world and MMO styles. Like, I want, put me on the rails. I want a game that you only move in one direction. You're going forward. You're going through the story. You go from the beginning of a level to the end of the level. I want an experience like that, a little more crafted, a little more tight. And I don't care if there's not like, what is it? The Witcher 3, when it came out, they're like the largest open world, hundreds of quests. You can spend 360 hours in here. And I'm like, I played the game for like 80 something hours just to get through the main story. And I put it down. I'm like, stop with the unlimited content. Just tell me a good story, even if it's shorter. I prefer a good short story over a bad long story, of course. But anyway.
All right. Last few things I'll ask you is, we'll start here. First one being, do you have anything planned coming up in 2024, going into 2025 that you want to let the audience know about?
I'm just going to keep continuing publishing books, doing the dream interpretations, and playing the video games. I don't think there's no real big, nothing big coming. Just going to keep grinding, I guess.
Yeah.
Just keep going as I have been.
Getting paid on YouTube.
Yeah, more interviews, more interpretations, more books. That's my thing.
Yeah. I always tell people, hey, it's free money you're getting just for doing what you love. And to be fair, extra $200 is bag of Ruffles, Skittles, cigarettes, gallon of milk.
For sure.
Back when I used to get paid off YouTube, I would just use it for bills anyway. So the money that I had extra would just be used for frivolous shit. When everyone says like, I'm going to put it in savings. I never put it in savings, guys. I day-to-day operations can be expensive. Yeah. Like,
for sure.
Day-to-day operations, you're like, you go out for food. When you go out for food, then you buy a snack. And it's just, it's too much shit. Being an adult is too much some days. But the last thing I'll ask you is there any shout outs you want to give to anyone in particular, and any other closing thoughts or statements you have before we end the show?
Wow. Yeah, I don't think I've ever been asked about shouting out other people. I mean, I suppose top of the list would be the esteemed wizard Styx Hexenhammer for kind of showing me the path to the possibility of being a published editor. He's got probably 1,000 books out there right now, and I'm like, I can do that. And I'm going to not compete with him I'm going to do Dreams because I think I didn't want to duplicate any of his work. I didn't want to steal his thing. I wanted to do my own thing. That's rude. The guy who inspired you're just going to take over his gig. No. Yeah, I can't think of anyone else to shout out. Just little props to him for that. And then, of course, you can find me at Benjamin the Dream Wizard on YouTube, benjaminthedreamwizard.com. Also, benjaminthedreamwizard.locals.com attached to my Rumble account. Yeah, but the .com site is going to be where you can find books, audio only MP3 downloadable versions of, so you can take the wizard with you wherever you wander, with or without Wi-Fi. I love alliterations.
It, I think they
Go
said that
ahead.
Locals is merging with Rumble, and they said that would be good. I
I
think
I
I
I
heard
remember
that.
hearing something about that too, and I don't
Yeah.
know if it already happened. I think maybe it was Dave Rubin's thing
Mhm.
was Locals. I think he sold it to Rumble, so I think they're already merged, or maybe it's
That would be a good thing
coming.
because I don't think I hate Locals or anything, but having too many of these alternative bigger platforms gets to be like, okay, what is this one really offering different from this other one? I don't mind
Yeah,
having a few competitors that like one all end all be all isn't good either, but having like 3, 4, 5 of them is like, well, okay, now we're just spreading things too
yeah.
thin.
Yeah, it's I mean, I wanna be wherever people are.
Yeah.
I kinda just sound like the little mer I wanna be where the people are. But no, I mean that. So if I'm on every social media, I'm on every alternative
Yeah.
video site. But it is a hassle in that regard of like, I'm spread a little thin, and I do wish maybe the audience was all in one place. But then again, if you're on Twitter or if you're on Gab, or if someone's over on Minds, or
Mhm.
and that's where they want to be, then I'll be there too. That's fine. You can find me on all those places. So
Awesome. So thank you guys for checking out this episode of the MSK Show, and we will see you guys later.